morning.
Good morning.
As we come together today, I'm wondering how you're all feeling. And in asking that question, I'm not really getting at whether or not you're being affected by the cold weather we've been enjoying, or how hard this cold and flu season has been hitting you. But I'm interested in knowing how you're holding up in these days of fear and uncertainty. What's on your heart? How are you really feeling? If you're like me, perhaps you're wondering what exactly is going on in this world, and in particular, in this country. Whether or not things will start making sense anytime soon. What it will take for all of us to feel more settled and hopeful for the future. My prayer is that answers to those important questions might come sooner rather than later. And in these challenging times, as you've heard me say on more than one occasion before, we have a choice. We can hunker down in the insulated security of our family, friends, and comfortable communities that surround us, or we can use the gifts that God has provided us to demonstrate to the world, in our words, through our actions and beliefs, what it means to be truly Christian. Allowing our loving relationship with God to shine through the darkness that enshrouds this world and bring love, compassion, and hope back into a picture that so desperately needs it. And that's all hard work, I grant you. But that seems appropriate for something that has as its goal nothing less than transformation of the world. But how do we do it? How can any one of us, or a group of us for that matter, change the course that we somehow find ourselves on these days? As usual, answers to these hard questions can be found in Scripture. Our Old Testament this morning is from the prophet Micah, considered a minor prophet by biblical standards, but a figure who provides one of my favorite verses in the entire Bible. Micah's powerful words come in response to the question, what does God need from us humans in order that we truly live up to the responsibility we hold as his children and the souls that we were created to be? Micah's words are very straightforward. He tells us all that we are called to do justice, to love kindness, and to walk humbly with God. Now that really boils things down, doesn't it? Be just, be kind, be humble. That's it. Simple words, really. You may have seen them on the banner down the street outside our neighbor's building at First Church. Do justice, love kindness, walk humbly with God. It's important to note that these are all things that are fully within our control. No special powers required. All things that we hold in our hearts and can choose to release to the world or keep captive within us. And as we look around and notice the choices that other people are making, including those in power dictating the course of events in this country, it's important that we not be swayed by those actions or normalize those behaviors, especially when they vary so much from Micah's simple instructions. Because as Paul tells us in his first letters to the Corinthians, no matter how wise and strong any human may seem or pretend to be, true wisdom and true strength lies only with God. Our gospel message from Matthew carries a similar message, doesn't it? In these familiar words of the Beatitudes delivered by Jesus through his Sermon on the Mount, we're reminded that no matter how dark our lives may seem, no matter what our own personal trials and challenges may be, Jesus is there, bearing all of his wisdom and all of his strength. He meets us where we are in the depths of our misery and brokenness with the promise that he will never leave our side. And that promise endures and overcomes everything else. So when we are sad or in mourning, overwhelmed by loud, relentless, and dominating forces around us, hungry and thirsty for a life-sustaining force, he is with us. And it's more than that, too. Because it's precisely when we do lead lives that show mercy and peacefulness, purity and love, kindness and justice, that he will fortify us in every way imaginable, so that we can find the strength and courage to bring hope and love to others. Debbie and I had the good fortune to travel to Oregon this past week to attend our 4-year-old grandson Quinn's grandparents and special friends visiting day. On the flight out to Portland, I watched the movie version of the Broadway play called Good Night and Good Luck, which stars George Clooney portraying CBS News journalist Edward R. Murrow in the mid-1950s, who at great personal and corporate risk challenged Senator Joe McCarthy as he persecuted as alleged communists, often without any supporting evidence or facts, innocent U.S. citizens through false claims, bullying, and public humiliation under the guise of government authority. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And perhaps a little bit too close to home. And as Murrow defended his position, humbly standing up for what he believed was just in the face of McCarthy's abuse of power, he quoted William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar using these words: "Cassius was right. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves." Like Murrow, I believe that Shakespeare got this one exactly right. And the warning embedded in these words has great relevance even today. You see, nothing we encounter in this human world is purely the result of coincidence, happenstance, or random chance found in the stars. As humans, all of our actions are the result of individual choice. What we choose to do or not to do. What we choose to say or not to say. What we choose to stand for or just let happen around us. It's one of the many gifts that God has given to us. The question becomes, therefore, whether we're going to sit around and wait for others to do the right thing and hope this ship rights itself, or are we going to take up the mantle of justice ourselves and show the world exactly what doing the right thing looks like? I'm reminded here of the line from the movie The Untouchables, starring Kevin Costner and Sean Connery, the old Irish cop, battered by life, influenced deeply by tradition and loyalty, and always in pursuit of doing the right thing, who challenges Costner to do the same by asking him this simple question: what are you prepared to do? Friends, I could be wrong, but I feel very much like we're at a crossroad, and that worries me. I'm fearful we will choose the wrong path. But perhaps, more to the point, I'm worried that those around us will choose the wrong path and we will just sit by and let it happen. If one thing's for sure, it's that I don't hold any of the answers that will solve the failings that are happening all around us. But I do hold in my heart a roadmap for doing that which is right. And so do you. We have all been taught what it looks like to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly before God. It's why Jesus came to be among us in the first place. It's why we are all here together this morning. And I believe that the more we practice those acts on our own, the more we support each other in doing the same, and the more we look for examples of them in our daily lives, then the better chance we have to get to where we're supposed to be. Now, anyone who knows me at all will attest to the fact that I'm not one who lives in social media. I don't have a personal Facebook, X, or Instagram account. I'm not even on LinkedIn anymore since I was hacked several years ago and someone started posting things I didn't want on my page. It's only recently that I've come to learn a bit about Instagram through our church page that I suddenly became responsible for a little over a year ago. But I have spent a fair bit of time reading and learning about how those platforms work. I'm sure I'm not telling any of you something you don't already know, but effectively what these sites do is through the use of artificial intelligence, another one of those things I love so much, they track a user's personal viewing habits to create an algorithm unique to that individual. And they use that information to ensure that a majority of what comes across our feeds inundates us with those things that we've already viewed before, maybe only once, and then continue to haunt us with those patterns until our subsequent viewing habits lead it in a different direction, at which point it recreates the algorithm and then takes control over what we see from that point on, and the whole cycle starts again. This all makes me wonder, why can't we apply that same technique using actual God-given intelligence this time, and dedicate ourselves to changing the algorithms of our life, seeking out those things in our world that provide light and love and kindness and hope, without returning endlessly to the darkness, hatred, divisiveness, and despair that seems to surround us, clogging our feeds and clouding our vision, while constantly making us feel as though we've lost control and can't do anything about it. I believe we're better than that. I believe we were created to be better than that. This is different, I think, than saying we should ignore what's going on around us, but rather by witnessing it, naming it, and standing up against it, we will be energized and empowered as Christians to do those things that God would have us do to bring all of his children back into the light. Do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with God. And we do this, you see, not through divisiveness, discord, violence, and disrespect for the dignity of our fellow children of God, but with great humility and heartfelt concern for others, by simply showing up for justice and those who need protection so that they know that they are not alone. Because doing the right thing does not necessarily mean doing that which is easiest or safest or least likely to cause a fuss. That's not how Jesus worked, and it's not how he taught us to create transformational change. So I encourage you to look for those opportunities, big and small, to stand up for what we all know is right. Help those among us who are, for whatever reason, and however that might look, unable to protect themselves. We are all in this struggle together, and regardless of what we might see and hear in the media every day, we are only as strong as the weakest among us. And it's up to us to be the light shining through the cracks and all that brokenness around us that brings hope back into the world. In closing this morning, I'd like to take us all back to Quinn School, because in many ways I think it's the children who will save us in this fight. They will make us stronger in battle because it's their future that we're all fighting for. They will be the ones to mold our hearts in such a way that they will give us all the strength and courage to see this thing through to its victorious conclusion. Because that's the only way this can end. Love always wins. In fact, it already has, even though it might be difficult to see it right now. And it really is all about love, you see. It's about caring for all of God's children with compassion, kindness, and understanding. And as we share that love with each other, I believe it will become contagious. This sentiment was shared in a beautiful way by the elementary age school kids in school, who sang an old song that may remind some of you of a Coca-Cola jingle that was later re-recorded by a group known as the New Seekers. For me, these words carry a meaning that transcend the young voices that blessed us with them just a few days ago. The lyrics go like this. I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to hold it in my arms and keep it company. I'd like to see the world for once, all standing hand in hand, and hear them echo through the hills for peace throughout the land. That's the song I hear. Let the world sing today. A song of peace that echoes on and never goes away. As we leave the church this morning, my prayer for all of us is that as we struggle to stay warm, we also find it in our hearts to do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly